Was it tight quarters right there?
Yes.
Part of your training and tactics that are taught by the city of Fort Worth is when you're going into an opening with two officers, two or more, is there a crossover technique that's taught at the academy?
Yes.
Can you explain that to the members of the jury?
The person standing on the left side of the opening goes to the right on the inside, and the person standing to the right of the opening goes to the left on the inside.
Because of your position at the gate, you're going left, Arch is going right.
Yes.
Had you completed your investigation before you opened that gate?
No, we have not.
When you open the gate, take the members of the jury forward from there, Aaron.
So I opened that gate with my handheld flashlight, took a quick look to the left, and observed the back of the house with a window and an air conditioning unit to the side. The window was pretty much right up against the fence. Quick look to the right just to make sure there was nobody standing there, and then moved on into the left.
Could you sense or feel that your partner, Carol Darch, was coming in and covering your backside?
Yes.
Part of your training, what you're responsible for the left-hand side when you go in. What observations are you making at that point?
As I said, there's a window and the air conditioning to the right and the fence immediately to the left. Was looking at the window to see if it appeared, signs of forced entry. The screen appeared intact, but I leaned down to look for like jimmy marks or something like that. And at that point, I also peered inside the window just to see if objects were broken or messed up in there, or if there was someone in there.
Do you have your gun drawn when you go through the gate?
No, I did not.
Do you know if Officer Darch did?
I believe she did, yes.
Is there a reason why she had hers drawn and you didn't?
I can only speak for myself. There's training about doing a general area search, and you don't do that with your weapon out. You do it with your handheld flashlight.
Aaron, when you looked into the window, did anything catch your eye?
Yes.
Can you explain that to the jury?
As I looked through that window, low in the window, I observed a person. Couldn't tell black, white, male, female. I saw the torso bent over horizontal, and could see about this much up on the arm, and then about the same on the leg, just the upper leg to the hip. And the upper arms, I could tell there was movement, like the upper arms were moving, like someone was reaching for something or grasping.
Did this torso, this silhouette, is it okay to use silhouette?
Silhouette, yes.
Were they near the window or away from the window based on what you could see at the time?
Very close to the window.
You've seen your video.
Yes.
Are you able to see into the room where the camera cannot?
Yes.
When you see this silhouette of the torso, would you say it is an adult torso or a juvenile torso?
It was an adult torso.
Aaron, when you see that adult torso at the window, what do?
Well, I thought we had a burglar, so I stepped back, straightened up, and drew my weapon, and then pointed it towards the figure. I couldn't see that person's hands, and we're taught that the hands, and it's what's in them that kill. We need to see the hands. We need to get people to show us our hands and get control of those hands. So I drew my weapon intending to tell that person to show me their hands.
In your training at the academy and your training at the Fort Worth range, you've gone through a lot of drills to develop what they would call muscle memory. Is that safe to say for officer survival?
Yes.
Is that part of the training curriculum?
Yes.
Why is muscle memory and repetitive action, especially when you're dealing with a level 3 holster, so important to an officer's survival?
Because of the holster safety features that have to be deactivated, and also because police work by its nature is reactive. In other words, we're always responding to something, and we're taught that action always beats reaction, so we often end up behind whatever someone else is doing.
You, at this point, have unholstered your weapon, is that correct?
Yes.
Is there a point or a series of frames on your video where the video just goes dark at this point?
Yes.
Why did the video just go dark if you know? Where does your light source go?
I think my thumb came off of my switch on my handheld light because I had it in the momentary position, and that was before I got my weapon light on.
Back to that muscle memory, is there a sequence that you're taught on how to unholster that weapon and turn the rail light system on that's approved?
Yes.
Can you explain that to the members of the jury?
You're supposed to turn that weapon-mounted light on with your offhand.
You just demonstrated some stuff in the courtroom. Would it be easier to show the members of the jury?
Probably, yes.
May I approach her?
Yes, sir.
Do you need me to stand?
No, not yet. Aaron, I've just handed you a flashlight. It's a stream light, is that correct?
Yes.
And is that your stream light?
Yes, it is.
And is that a rechargeable light that officers are allowed to carry?
Yes.
Now, does that stream light have several different buttons on it?
Yes.
It has two, does it not?
It has one.
Okay. Yours is only on in the back?
Yes.
That button has a couple of different functions in, is that correct?
Yes, it does.
What do you mean by momentary on? And if you would, if you're going to just energize it, point it toward the judge's smartboard. What do you mean by momentary on?
Momentary means you slightly depress it and it only comes on for a moment. If you let the pressure off, it comes off. It turns off.
And is there a way to click it and turn it all the way on?
Yes.
Okay. When you were going around, if the jury looks at the exhibit again, the video, when you shine your light on and off, that's you toggling the back of that light with your left hand?
Yes.
You mentioned an offhand. Is there a primary hand for your firearm at the academy?
Yes.
Are you right-handed or left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
So that would be your firearm hand, your right hand, correct?
Yes.
So your offhand would be the one that your stream light that you just showed the jury against the judge's smartboard?
Yes.
And how are you taught to turn on the light system? If it were on my rubber gun here, how are you taught to turn on the light system here?
To use this hand to do it.
So if I have this, if I have your flashlight in my left hand, how am I supposed to, what are you supposed to do if the flashlight's not in my hand? Is there a switch on your rail light?
Yes.
Is it a like a flapper switch that comes down?
Yes.
Is it on both sides?
Yes, it is.
Were you able to turn it on the left-hand side?
I was not.
How did you turn on your light's on from the video. How did you turn it on?
Once I realized I wasn't able to get it on with my offhand, I reached up with my trigger finger and flipped it on.
Explain that to me.
Well, since it rocks on both sides, I came up, was trying to get it on, it wouldn't come on, and so I just reached up. I keep my trigger finger off the trigger until I'm ready to shoot anyway, so it would have been up on the frame of the weapon, and then just reached and flipped that light switch on.
When both of the lights came on, were you able to see more depth of field inside that room?
Depth of field meaning into the room? No, I really only saw it up close. I really didn't see much back in the room.
Did the silhouette to you, Aaron, in your eyes take up most of the window?
Yes.
I think you told the jury you've taken a step back. You've unholstered your weapon. What are you doing at this point?
Well, as I said, I needed to see that person's hands, because the hands carry weapons. The hands are the threat to us. So I looked back after I got my light on, saw the silhouette again, and I was shouting at this time, shouting commands. Put up your hands. Show me your hands. Show me your hands. And as I started to get that second phrase out, show me your hands, I saw the silhouette. I was looking right down the barrel of a gun. And when I saw the barrel of that gun pointed at me, and I fired a single shot from my duty weapon, and immediately had the flash from the muzzle reflecting off the window, and of course, as my weapon recoiled, the light was bouncing back in my face, so I couldn't see. When my vision cleared, then I observed the person that we now know as Miss Jefferson. I heard her scream and saw her fall like this. And I knew that I'd shot that person.
Aaron, when you first picked up this firearm pointed at you, how close to the window were you?
Picked up, you mean saw?
Yes, sir.
Visually picked up. Very close. Not any more than arm's length.
This may be an obvious question, but I need to ask you. You see the weapon. Is it in the silhouette's hand? What do you see?
I just saw the silhouette of the person and the gun. I don't recall seeing hands, but I did see that weapon pointed at me.
You're not saying the gun's on the floor?
No, the gun was pointed directly at me.
And about how high up on the silhouette was the gun in your mind when you're looking at this?
Maybe mid-chest? I'm not sure.
You have your city-issued firearm out at this point. Is that true?
Yes.
You're giving or in the process of giving commands. Why didn't you let the commands finish out?
Because we're taught to meet deadly force with deadly force. We're not taught that we have to wait. Anytime we have a threat of deadly force, we can use deadly force to defend ourselves or someone else from that threat of deadly force.
Where's Carol at this point when you discharge your weapon?
She was directly behind me.
What happened next in your mind, Aaron?
I heard Officer Darch call out, "Shots fired," just like you're supposed to. And I started to call out as well. Baker 325, shots fired, shots fired. Started supervisor, and in MedStar code, I wanted medical attention there immediately. I turned to run around to start giving medical aid and get inside this house. And I thought, wait a second, I still don't know. All I've seen is a person. I don't know anything else about what's going on in that room. So I ran back up to the window to see if I could see anything else. I observed the person, obviously we now know it's Miss Jefferson, laying face down on the floor. And I really couldn't see anything else in the room. And Officer Darch said, we got to get in there, we got to get in there. And I said, yeah, and I tried to even jerk at the window just to get right inside. But it wouldn't come up, so we started running around the house, through the gate and around.
Aaron, when you get back to the front door that's never open, is that the door you go in?
Yes.
At this point, at the academy, when you're at the range, are you wearing ear protection?
Yes.
Discharge of the weapon is a loud event. Would you agree?
Yes.
When you're under a lot of stress, there's what's called auditory exclusion as well.
Yes.
And you're trained on that at the academy, correct?
We are.
That's hard to simulate at the academy. Would you agree?
It is.
And did you make any observations about yourself at that point? Did you hear what's going on around you?
I could hear people on the radio in my ear, but I don't remember hearing anything else.
You and Aaron, you and Carol have to still clear that house because you don't know what you have, correct?
Yes.
Is your investigation complete at that point?
No, it's not.
What do you do next, Aaron?
Well, at the gate, I asked her if she had one of the TAC med bags. She said she didn't, so I started making plans to find objects in the room to start rendering emergency aid until MedStar got there. And at that point, the radio's just blowing up, and they're asking me questions, and people are saying they're coming, and I'm trying to respond, and we get to the door, and dispatch asked me some other question, and I started to try to respond, and I was like, forget it, we got to go. We got to get inside this house and see what else is going on there, and render aid to this person. So we get inside, and I let the radio go, and we start shouting commands and fast clearing, which is just looking just as fast as we can, but safely moving through and observing into each of the rooms and the halls and everything, just to see if there's somebody there. And we got to that back bedroom. As we moved through the house, all of the rooms, they were all a mess. Everything was a mess in that house. Just objects everywhere. Objects all over the floor, all over the furniture. It looked trash. It looked like somebody had just gone through everything. And I get to that back bedroom, and off to my right, I see a kid. And of course, we know it's Zion. And I'm thinking, who brings a kid to a burglary? What is going on? I see a dog. And at that point, I was just like, never mind. Forget what else. You got Darce. Just shut up and work. Shut up and work. Get the weapon. Render aid to her. Get the weapon. Render aid to the person. And I remember going over to the person laying on the floor and saw the weapon. between her feet. And I remember putting my gloves on and then picking up the weapon. And at this point, I could hear Officer Dart saying something to Zion. Of course, we now know from the video, he just says, I don't want to go to jail. And she tells him, don't worry, you're not going to jail. Of course, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, Judge. I didn't actually hear all that at the time. Just processing everything.
And there was talk last week when Carol was here testifying that she had an attorney named Terry Daffron. You know Terry.
Yes.
And as part of your training at the academy, Ms. Daffron came and lectured y'all.
Yes.
As part of the faculty that came and taught you.
Yes.
And she gave recommendations for how to handle and not handle evidence in a scene, correct?
Correct.
She told you not to touch anything.
Correct.
Your instructors are the final word, though, on your training, correct?
They are.
In your survival week training, did you get yelled at for not removing the weapon from a suspect that was down?
I did.
That have a lasting impression on you of what you're supposed to do for officer safety?
Yes, it did.
What are you trained to do to get weapons away from anyone?
Just to move that weapon away from the person, from any person.
Prior to doing anything else?
Prior to doing anything else.
You locate this weapon. Is it a firearm?
Yes.
You locate it near Ms. Jefferson's feet.
Yes.
And I believe you, what do you do with it at that point?
I picked it up just to move it away from her, and as I picked it up, I saw a green laser tracing across the white wall. And
Is that your concern at that point, though?
no, I'm just getting it away from that person.
You know from what's blowing up in your ear, because we can't hear the radio traffic as it sits on your body-worn camera, that the cavalry is coming behind you.
Yes.
What precautions, how are you trained to render first aid? You're not a paramedic, correct?
Correct.
Are you a basic EMT?
No.
What sort of first aid have you had in the academy then?
CPR and then bleed stoppage on bullet wounds and knife wounds.
There's discussion on the video, your video, about a trauma